Okay, folks, post-viewing thoughts on Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie. Folks, let's go ahead and get this out of the way. There is none other Halloween movie out there that I like better than the original Halloween by John Carpenter. You can't get better than that. Okay, we're just going to say that and get that out of the way. It's my favorite. I have it on Blu-ray. Enough said. Okay, let's get into this. Let's go back in time about 2 years ago. Let me just tell you, and if you've noticed my other review I did on the remake by Rob Zombie, I was one of the few out there that basically tolerated the remake that he did in '07. I do not like this movie better than anything that was before. I just like the remake that he made a couple years ago for what it was. I like certain parts of it. Okay, it was stylish in some parts. I like the way he shot, different camera angles, things of that nature. But anyways, now, it wasn't my favorite Halloween by far. It's probably the least favorite one I ever saw anyway. But getting back more to the point, Halloween 2. I went to see this movie a couple of days with that in the back of my mind, like, oh, it's just going to be another outing by Rob Zombie. It's going to be a lot of the same junk all over again. You're going to have a lot of foul-mouthed guys out there saying the same old lines. It's going to be just, it's just going to be a lot more of the same. Well, I went in there, I watched this one, and folks, I gotta say, like a lot of reviewers that I've been kind of catching up on, that's had some post-viewing thoughts on this movie, I really enjoyed the movie. I was entertained. I had a good time. I got my money's worth. I feel like I had a decent experience, a little bit better experience this time around. It didn't hurt as bad. It didn't feel like they were trampling on territory they didn't need to be messing with or something like that. This is basically, the best way I can sum this one up, folks, this is basically, had Rob Zombie had the creative freedom in the beginning from the Weinstein Company or whoever backed this thing, Dimension Films, if they would have given him the creative freedom to do this movie as his Halloween before, this is really Rob Zombie's Halloween. Like everybody else I've heard, like Pizzell and a bunch of other guys out there reviewing this movie, it is true. This is Rob Zombie's version of Halloween. This is more of what I thought he would have done with it to begin with, not just a rehash and a backstory thing that he did the first time around. I gotta say, this is more, it was scary, it was a slasher. Now, is it going to be a classic? Heck no, it ain't going to be no classic, guys. It's just a fun remake. They're just out there to get you cash, and they got my cash, and I enjoyed it, so it was a good trade, It was probably just a regular old, good old slasher, slap you across the face, stick you in the heart, kind of movie. They didn't pull any punches this time around. It was a little less stylish. Everybody was a little bit more dirty and troubled. It was a continuation story of the survivors of the first movie. Scout Taylor Compton and Daniel Harris are back. Brad Dourif is in this movie. Malcolm McDowell from the first one. Sherry Moon Zombie shows up in dream sequences, as you've probably heard already. Things of that nature. It's got some other cameos by Howard Hessman and a few other people that you'll note in the movie that have shown up either in other Rob Zombie efforts or just people that he's wanted to put in movies for years and he finally got his chance to do it. More importantly, this time around, he really tailored it to his own style, I guess you would call it, if there is such a thing for Rob Zombie. And basically just made it more of his own this time. There is violence, there is kills, there's a creative kill scenes in it, there is great sound effects. Watch it in a good theater, folks. Watch it and make sure you get a good surround sound mix going there. Go with friends. It's probably a good friend movie. You can have fun seeing it. Will it go on to be a classic? As I said before, no. It's probably just going to be just a good old slasher, and it'll fit into the anthology that is Halloween movies. It's not going to be any better or any worse. It's probably just a couple of notches above that remake that he made, but it's good. I mean, I had a good time at it. It's kind of like the Friday the 13th remake. When I got home, my first viewing thoughts on it were, I enjoyed it. It was a good film, but I think I'm going to need to see it a couple more times to really commit to it as far as being in the archives over there, or making sure I really like it beforehand. All in all, not a bad movie. And I've got to say, before closing, the best performance in this movie is by Brad Dourif. I've got to give props where props are due, folks. Brad Dourif in this movie is just a standout performance, even more so than the first one. He played a very good role as Sheriff Brackett in the first movie, but in this one it's kind of like they let the cuffs off a little bit and they let him kind of run with, kind of get more into the character of it. He's more relaxed in it, and you feel like he's put heart into this role. He is really Sheriff Brackett in this movie, and he really enjoys what he's doing. Danielle Harris is played back a lot more because it's more in her character in this movie. Her and Laurie Strode, or her new name in this movie is Angel. See, that's the things. There's a lot of things in there that Rob Zombie gave his regular old tweak to, and that's what I think made it better this time around, because it's more of what you would expect from him. Because you watch House of a Thousand Corpses, then you watch The Devil's Rejects. There's that difference in tone between the first two. House of a Thousand Corpses was just raked over the coals by being his first feature, plus being nearly not produced by Lionsgate, and then basically once he gets that out there and people actually like the movie, he made a little bit of money back scratch on it, and then back to filming. He filmed Devil's Rejects, and when he got into doing that movie, people it's like they gave him a little more creative control. Same thing here. They yanked back on the reins a little bit around the remake and said tailor it back, give them more of the same, let them see that, give them more of the Laurie Strode story, the stalking, all that from the original. And then basically they said all bets are off, we're going to go for the jugular and get people's cash this time. Do what you want to, but make sure it's violent, slasher, slasher, slasher. Well, he's done that, folks, and like I said, is it an excellent movie? No. By far, no. Is it a decent slasher? Yes. Go see it if that's what you're in the market for. Didn't care too much for the White Horse dream sequences that are, I'm sure you probably already heard all over the net, and from buddies out there that have probably already seen it. Didn't really care much for those. I know that where he was probably coming from, he's trying to say this is more of what's going on, this is his motivation for killing and all this stuff, but I don't know. It's that whole thing about putting Sherry Moon Zombie in every movie. I mean, she's effective in most of his movies that he's had her in, which is just about every single one of them, I believe, so far. But I know she's his wife and everything too, but come on, Rob. If you're going to keep being a filmmaker, keep growing as a filmmaker, to throw your wife a bone every single time. I mean, Clint Eastwood got away with it with Sandra Locke for years. I mean, I think they did like 6 features together or something like that. But I think your account's running kind of dry there, pal. You're going to have to put Sherry Moon out to do her own work. Let her do her own work for a while. And kind of you go do the same. Kind of grow as a filmmaker a little bit. But effectively, folks, he does a lot better with the camera work in this movie. It just seems like the camera work's cleaner. The sound effects are okay. The special effects is top notch. It's just like I said about the Friday the 13th remake. The movie was kind of stale, but the production value, the money's on the screen. I mean, you got good sound effects, decent, and you've got good special effects. I have to give props where props are due. There again, folks, all in all, see it if you will. That's my little post-viewing thoughts, rambles on that. My post-viewing thoughts videos never really go anywhere. They're just kind of me thinking out loud and just putting it on the camera. So anyways, don't take my word for it, guys. If you're in the market for a decent run-of-the-mill slasher, forget it's if this helps, forget it's Rob Zombie's movie and just go out and say, I just want to see this new Halloween sequel. Maybe that'll help. Take care, folks, and I'll see you next time.